And in Arizona, and it was so hot in the summer that like there was sort of like oven mitt material on all of the doors, like on all of the, like businesses and stuff like that. All the metal doors had this sort of like oven mitt material. So when you touched the metal to open the door handle,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't burn your hands. And like we have to
Yeah.
be really careful about, our little kids and the car seats and not burning them with the seatbelt buckles. And it's hot.
When I worked at the car dealerships for 20 years, my main job in the last couple of years was to maintain the inventory. So I was in and out of cars sitting out on the hot lot all day. So steering wheels, door handles, gear shift knobs. It was all hot. Hot leather.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
glad
that's
not to
the
be doing
worst.
that anymore.
Worst. I used to live in Tampa, and that was just and then I lived in Mississippi on the coast in Ocean Springs for a while, and it's just so hot all the time. And on the west coast part of Florida too, and on the Gulf side, there's not like a breeze like there is on the east side, right, of Florida off the Atlantic. So it was hot all the time. And then wintertime was like fog and rain in Mississippi. So on the coast. So like it was, it'd just be foggy, really foggy and flooding. That was that was winter time there. But the first year I moved to Tampa was the first year they had like snow flurries for like the first time in like 20-25 years. They had some snow flurries when I'd moved there when I was young, and it was funny. Everything shut down. They lost and all the pipes are above, they don't bury really pipes there, so like all the pipes froze. Like there was all kinds of vegetation that died, and it was funny because I had just moved from South Bend, Indiana at the time, so we had moved down there, and there was people walking around with parkas on and stuff, and I'm like, I got like a t-shirt and shorts on you because I'm coming from up north. I'm like, this is great. I was like, everybody's like ready for the snowstorm of the century down there. I'll never forget that. So that was funny. But yeah, but it's so fun. You get used to it. You really get used to it. But here, where I'm at, Virginia, it's just so muggy. Like it's very the humidity is rough.
Yeah.
Whereas the humidity, it's still, I know it's hot, but like, do you have a lot of humidity where you are, Angela?
No, not really. I mean, only when the storms, right after the storms roll through, it's a little bit, but not so much. I find it funny when it starts to cool down at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year. All the Arizonians, as soon as it drops down to like 75, everybody's got sweaters on. Oh man, it's chilly because it's not 120. It's cold now.
Right.
It's 75.
It's all relative. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cool. Well, hello everyone. It's good to see people are popping in. We've got I assume what will happen is as we're going through this, people will just keep joining as we continue to move forward. We're almost ready to get started. I'm excited about this. This is I haven't when I first started a VO's journey years ago, it was a mastermind group, and we used to do every Saturday, and we did that for years, and then we switched it, and now we don't do Saturdays. So it's actually nice to be on a Saturday again. So I hadn't done Saturdays in a long time, but we used to do it. I've been thinking that. And Angela, I don't remember when you joined, but
it's been a few years. It was Saturday morning when we used to meet.
It's been I was doing this every week since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. It's pretty crazy, and it still seems like every week is a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
It never gets stagnant. All right, we got more people joining. Hello, welcome to our workshop, you guys. It's great to have you. It is 2 p.m., so we're going to, just for the sake of kicking things off, get started. And we've got a lot to go over and super excited. So real quick, because I know a lot of you, but I might not know all of you. I made the mistake in the past to not introduce myself and the people. So I'm just going to take a quick second. My name's Anthony. You haven't met me. My face is everywhere. I'm not vain, I promise. And but today, speaking with me, of course, we have Susan Fouche. Hello, Susan.
Hello.
And we have Angela Ohlfest. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. They are a part of the Avio's Journey Elite Academy as coaches, as well as part of our production team for our audiobook production company. So we're really pleased to have them here and to welcome them. We are going to be today talking to you about audiobook auditions and how you can win more. And I think what's really exciting about today for me is I get asked constantly, can I hear auditions? Can you share with me winning auditions and then auditions that didn't win? And then what? And then explain to me why and so forth. And we never really get an opportunity to do that, but we will today. We have some people who are more than very happy to volunteer to allow us to listen and dissect their auditions. So we're really thrilled with that. I just real quick, because you all, I'm sure you all know me, I will talk and keep talking. So Susan, we'll start with you. Do you have any, just a welcome and anything to say to get started off?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. My name is Susan Fouche, and I started following Anthony probably like you guys did on YouTube a few years ago when I was interested in Fiverr. And then I hired Anthony to be my mentor, and just he helped me so much. And then I guess he was, I don't know, happy with my progress. So he hired me to teach some classes, and I teach the Monday night class with Avio's Journey Elite Academy on, it's on Mondays. We meet at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I teach the voice acting portion of this, sort of like just a general voice acting class. So it's great to be here. Thanks for being here on a Saturday. I'm really excited to just share with you what we heard. And my goal for this day is really just to help everybody understand what a winning audition sounds like and the components and the pieces of it. And I think this will really help you. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Angela.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Angela Ohlfest, otherwise known as Voiceover Angela. I've known Anthony for, God, since what, 2018? Anthony?
Yeah.
Ish.
Mm-hmm.
And been part of his mastermind ever since. I started following him in someone else's Facebook group, actually. And then when he started the YouTube and became a coach himself, that's when I reached out to him about a year and a half into my own journey. And because you hit that plateau. So I reached out to Anthony. I said, hey, you're doing something right. Give me the juice. Give me that juju. I need that. Show me what you're doing. So I mentored with Anthony for about a year, and where I'm at now, I have in thanks of him. So, but I'm also a coach for the Academy. I teach the audiobook section on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am also very excited for this. This will be fun.
Well, thank you so much. And so just to put in context about what we're talking about today and what brought this about, we're going to be, of course, trying to help everybody with their auditions and what we're looking for and what many other audiobook production companies are looking for. But we recently, with the Academy, launched our own audiobook production company, and we had auditions that we put out for short stories that we are publishing just to start through YouTube. And we had lots of auditions, and we went through those auditions. And of course, we had the people who won those auditions, and then we had, of course, runner-ups, and just we had so many wonderful auditions through that. And we wanted to do this workshop as a way to share what we heard, how we met, how we went ahead and picked the people who would be doing the books, and what you could do and what we all could learn to get better. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So in all, I want to premise this. We're going to use something called a whiteboard for the first part of this on Zoom. I set this up. I'm trying to be the Zoom guy here and get better at this. So if for whatever reason, because we were testing this out with Susan and Angela before, and Susan was able to see it okay. Angela was struggling a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over because this is going to share. Hopefully everybody can see this. To start, there's on the bottom right hand or the bottom right side, there is a zoom in and a zoom out tab. If you zoom out to about 60% or so, you should be able to see everything that we have on the slide, which is, it should say Audiobook Audition Workshop. We've got 3 different tabs there. And then on the bottom, there should be a subtext story underneath the story. And then it should be an arrow to a book with a nice pop-up. If you can't see that, hopefully you can see all that. I apologize if anybody's struggling with that. I'm new to the whiteboard, but hopefully, is there anybody who can't see it? You just type over in the chat. Is there anybody who can't see it at all? As you should, everybody should be able to see it. No? Okay. So what we're going to do is, this is the first part that we want to show you guys what we're looking for. And I think what the majority of people are looking for when they're looking at auditions. Okay. So the first part, the tech part, now I want Susan actually to talk about this too, because Susan's been curating voice actors auditions for a long time. And, when you start going through a lot of people, right, the little things become very important. So Susan, why don't you go ahead and start us off with that?
All right. So number one, what I look for, and I think what pretty much every other audiobook production company, be it like the top ones, Brilliance, if you get hired on with Amazon, the number one thing that they're going to look for is that you follow the directions. And even if your audition is, the most beautiful thing, the most powerful, delivery ever, if you don't follow the directions, you're going to get knocked out of the running. So number one, make sure that you follow the directions. If, they ask you to name your file a specific way, just make sure you name it a certain way. If it's asking you for, to put it in a certain folder, just make sure you put it in a certain folder. After that, the small things that will also get you knocked out are like your ACX specs over there on the left-hand side on the whiteboard, that kind of like salmon colored tab. The technical production quality. Make sure that you are running your audio through some kind of like checker. If it's, Isotope RX, or if it's like the ACX check on Audacity and in the recording software, make sure that you are meeting those RMS levels, which is the volume levels, the peak levels, the noise floor levels. Make sure that you're doing that because, well, here's why it's so important. Remember, most of the people who are listening to audiobooks are listening through earbuds. And so if your noise level is too high, you're going to blow out their eardrums. If the noise level is too low, they can't hear you, even if you have earbuds in. So what the curators are always looking for is, how does it sound? Just like, is it comfortable in my ears? Also things like no mouth noise, no clicks. And then here's kind of like another thing also. If you'll look on just acx.com and then go to what their submission guidelines are, you can just find it through their help. Figure out how much room tone you need at the beginning and how much you need at the end. So for example, when I'm curating and I hit the play button and there's 10 seconds of nothing, and then finally we get into the slate, finally we get into the actual audition, you're not really following directions. So we need to make sure that everything is following just the standard industry standard guidelines. A half a second of room tone at the beginning, go ahead on into it. And then, these are just sort of like the basic things that will kind of keep you in the running. But if you don't follow those basic things, your audition's not even going to get heard. So that's kind of where I want to start with that. Anthony, if you, or
Yeah.
Angela, if you want to take any away with that.
Yeah. What do you think, Angela?
I think that's absolutely right. Because if you think about it, if you're looking for, if you're asking for auditions and you have 50 auditions, you're going to quickly go through those, and the ones that just can't follow the directions up front, like Susan said, aren't even going to be listened to. But the ones that did follow directions, those will move on to the next step and be listened to. But again, with the room tone at the head, that goes really for any audition too, is to not leave, tons of silence at the beginning anyway, because they want to hear it quickly. But for audiobooks specifically, yeah, the room tone is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I was going to say too, as we were listening to a lot of auditions, moving on down to professional sound quality. We all know, I think all of us, we all are always trying to make our stuff sound better, right? That's like a lifelong pursuit of all of us. But it is so vital, as we were listening to a lot of the auditions, that you really do as much as you can to make sure that your audio sounds pristine. And a great way to think about this is you might not, especially when you're starting out, because I know I couldn't tell whether or not your stuff sounds good or not. I did crazy stuff. I don't know if any of you all ever done this, but I used to take my stuff, put it on my phone, go to my car, play it through Bluetooth, and listen through my radio speakers in my car to see how it sounded. And then it sounded awful. And I was like, whoa. And like the bass was so overwhelming. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like it. And because I was listening through a pair of Audio Technica headphones that I got for like 30, $40. And I couldn't stand the way it sounded in there. And so I was always searching for ways that I couldn't tell what was the right sound and what was not. And as I went, further in my journey, I learned more. I started getting other professionals who had been around for a long time to listen, and say, hey, yeah, that sounded good. Or, hey, you need to work on this. You need to work on that. I hear a lot of people sounding muffled. So when I'm listening to auditions, I hear a lot of muffled sound, and that's usually an issue with a couple things. One, EQ, okay, not knowing exactly how to EQ your work properly. It also could be proximity to your microphone. Sometimes I notice, because I work with a lot of voice actors, the proximity to your microphone, where your microphone, the actual the pattern, the pickup pattern, where it's facing, whether you have a top address, a front address microphone, that pattern is very important. And if you don't, I've worked with people, God bless them, that their microphones are backwards, or their microphones are down here. You know what I mean? Or, they're over here or something. You can tell by just the way I do mine, how it changes my sound. Okay. Now I have a very specific microphone that I use my editing station, which is a broadcast microphone. Okay. And this is a fine and a good microphone to record as well with, but I have a different microphone in my studio, which is over there. But point I'm trying to make is every microphone has a different pickup pattern, a different sounding with your voice. And our jobs as the people who are running our own studios is to become really good at hearing and understanding and producing audio. Okay. So the sound quality is vital, and you can tell it right away. It's like, if you've ever been to a movie, well, I'm sure you've been to a movie or a play, and have you ever been, we'll say a live play. Have you ever been to a play and you're sitting there and you watch someone on the stage and they're not talking, but they're looking off in the distance, or they're doing something that's not, that they're clearly not supposed to be doing, and it rips you out of that suspension of disbelief. Okay, which is what we call, when we are trying to put people into a place where they can imagine, let themselves believe in what we're doing. Okay, so our jobs as narrators is to make sure that everything we do it helps people listening to us make sure that they're thinking only of what the story we are telling, not why does it sound like that? Why did they take some monster breath in the middle of it? That just doesn't sound we don't want them asking about our acting and technical decisions. We want them carried away in the story. So we have to do a lot of these things like our audio to make sure they're not thinking about that. And the more professional you approach it, the more we will be treated like professionals. Right? I mean, we've got, it's so important to look at this as I've got to, be as professional as I can with my stuff. And if I'm not sure, I need help. I need to get help with that. Okay. Anything else on this, you guys, about, we talked to mastering involves all of this. I think the putting it all together. But ladies, anything else?
There was a quick question in the chat about room tone versus silence. Room tone is better than silence. I wouldn't use silence, especially if you do have a naturally sounding room, because if you're listening back to it, you hear, dialogue, dead silence, dialogue, and then you also run the risk of ACX saying it's too quiet. So it's better to use your room tone, but test your room tone first to make sure that you are under the negative 60 dB room tone requirement, and then you can copy that room tone and then just use that to adjust your head and tail of your file, but don't use silence. I would not use silence. Sorry.
Yeah, good question. Susan, do you have anything else with that before we move on? Does anybody? Nope. Yeah. Nope. Anybody have any quick questions about that? You can raise your hand in the chat. We'll take one or two real quick if you have any. Don't worry, we'll go back and have questions at the end. Vanessa.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I do have a question. I've been using Autoheal a lot, and so I might take the beginning of it and, I'm running the recording and then I start it and then I just take it back down to 0.5 seconds. So it is room tone, but there's like stuff in it. So then I hit Autoheal. Is that still room tone once I do that? Or does the Autoheal turn it into silence? I've never really been sure about that.
Yeah, so Autoheal does not turn it into absolute silence. What Autoheal does is, it's a kind of an AI feature that it's an algorithm that looks at all of the surrounding, the surrounding sound, and then it makes a decision. Basically, it tries to figure out where you've Autohealed and where it is, tries to make a decision what you're looking for. So it will, get rid of something, make it less in volume, but it's not going to ever delete this. It's not going to silence. So you're talking about Adobe Audition. There is, specific silence for that, but no, it won't. And Autoheal can work sometimes. That's
okay,
fine too. It can work sometimes, but sometimes sometimes it'll, especially if you do it on a breath, it'll make the breath sound odd too. It'll maybe like, it'll take a breath that's like, and then it might do like, so it's still weird. You know what I mean? It's just quieter. As opposed, it might not delete it. So a good thing to do is to, save a piece of room tone, and you can just paste that where you need to as you go along. Okay, one more quick question. Thank you, Vanessa. Vincent.
Hey, I think the point you made, Anthony, about the breath. One, it's really important to have breath captured, but sometimes I've noticed that I think it's a small or quiet or shallow breath that I've taken, and on listening back, it's actually more of it's not a gasp, but it's kind of getting into the proximity of a gasp. And I still want to have a breath there if I think the breath adds to the realistic flow, if you will. So there is a little bit of breath sculpting that I will sometimes do. Or to your point, sometimes Autoheal, because I use Audition right now. Sometimes that Autoheal changes that sound of the breath, and so I'll minimize it enough so I haven't destroyed the room tone, but I've sort of made the artistic or executive decision that, all right, right there, it's not important to have the breath. But I think breath sculpting, just like all the extraneous noise edits we have to do, is another aspect of the drama or the fantasy that like you mentioned, that space that we're trying to keep the listener in.
No, thank you, Vincent. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. No, thank you. And I think that it is, and it's also, it becomes subjective too about the piece you're doing, etc. So just so we're moving along, and I want to shift a little bit too. We'll go back to that and stuff, but I want to listen to some audio and break it down as well as time goes on, because I think that would be something neat to do, and we'll go back and forth to keep things spicy. So what we had for our auditions for our first set of 4 stories, we decided that we were going to do some Grimm's fairy tales. For some short stories, we picked Hansel and Gretel. We picked Tom Thumb, the fisherman and his wife, and Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, yeah.
And what I want to do is I'm going to share start with Casey Miracle. She was the winner for I believe it was Hansel and Gretel.
Mhm.
And I want to play her audition, and then we're going to talk about it and why she was chosen in the end to win this particular one. Okay, let's just triple check real quick to make sure. Share my computer sound. Yep. All right, here we go.
Casey Miracle, Hansel and Gretel. Hard by a great forest dwelt a poor woodcutter with his wife and his 2 children. The boy was called Hansel, and the girl Gretel. He had little to eat and to break, and once when great death fell on the land, he could no longer procure even daily bread. Now, when he thought over this by night in his bed and tossed about in his anxiety, he groaned and said to his wife, "What is to become of us? How are we to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything even for ourselves?" "I'll tell you what, husband," answered the woman. "Early tomorrow morning, we will take the children out into the forest to where it is the thickest. There we will light a fire for them and give each of them 1 more piece of bread. And then we will go to our work and leave them alone. They will not find the way home again, and we shall be rid of them." "No, wife," said the man, "I will not do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone in the forest? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces." "Oh, you fool," said she. "Then we must all 4 die of hunger. You may as well plane the planks of our coffins." And she left him no peace until he consented. "But I feel very sorry for the poor children, all the same," said the man. The 2 children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmother had said to their father. Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, "Now all is over with us." "Be quiet, Gretel," said Hansel. "Do not distress yourself. I will soon find a way to help us." And when the old folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his little coat, opened the door below, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stooped and stuffed the little pocket of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel, "Be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace. God will not forsake us." And he lay down again in his bed. When day dawned, but before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the 2 children, saying, "Get up, you sluggards. We are going into the forest to fetch wood." She gave each a little piece of bread and said, "There is something for your dinner, but do not eat it before then, for you will get nothing else." Gretel took the bread under her apron, as Hansel had the pebbles in his pocket.
All right, cool. So that was Casey. I don't know if Casey's here, but great job, Casey. I want to talk about this and why what we liked about it, etc. I think the first thing to mention, as we were talking about, the audio sounds fantastic, right? I don't hear any reverb. There's, you can tell that there is room tone in here, right? So like here you can tell, like if I hit this, so ACX standards means you need to have it at -60 at least or under, all right? And it's under -60 for the room tone in here.
"No, wife."
So we've got room tone, it's good. Also, let's start with the way she slated this. Not everybody did this. Okay, not everybody did this. So you start off with a slate
Casey Miracle,
with her name and then the title of the book
Hansel
or the
and
story.
Gretel.
Here's an important thing. Make sure you pause after you do this, because even though you're slating it, you need to give the listener, in this case, the person who's picking choosing whether or not you're going to win an audition, even they need to reset themselves a little bit, right? You need to reset the story, allow the listener to be like, okay, I'm ready. Then they listen so that we understand that it's separate. You sound separate. So that's important. Some people don't do that. Some people go and they slate and go right into the story. And there's no gap there. The gap is very, very important. So that was I wanted to share that. Susan, Angela, go ahead. You guys can chime in and talk about things you liked.
So, okay, backing up just a little bit, because I know sometimes like you can get a little bit stressed out about the whole breaths. And I know you heard breaths with Casey, but her breaths felt very, very appropriate. Like it felt like, okay, I just need a little bit of time. And that's what a breath is for. You know, we need to breathe, but we also need to give the listener some time to kind of just take in what they just heard. So, Vincent used the term breath sculpting, and all that means is just you're not silencing the breath, you're just diminishing it, or you're doing something to it to make it not be super distracting. So breaths are important. You don't need to take out all your breaths, but there are techniques that you can learn as a narrator to naturally take a breath and not have it be a big gulpy, huge breath. I know I teach that in my class, how to breathe, and also just kind of like how to slow down in between each little section to give the listener some time. So that's the breath. But can we, I don't know, Anthony, can I move on to the acting quality at this point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please do.
Numero uno with Casey, which I mean, it totally impressed me, was her distinct voices. Oh my gosh, every single character. There was the husband, there was the evil stepmother, there was the little boy, Hansel, and there was the little girl, Gretel, and they all sounded distinct. Now, not all of us can do a child's voice. If you can't do a kid's voice, then just don't audition for Hansel and Gretel. Don't audition for books that have a kid's voice. You audition for books that you can actually do really, really well and feel very confident in doing. Like Anthony said, the suspension of disbelief. We don't ever want the listener to be like, well, that was a terrible kid's voice, or that was a terrible whatever voice. But Casey's voices were so distinct. And that just, I mean, bumped her to the top immediately for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those characters were not over the top in like super deep or high pitches, or it was all in just personality, but they were all very distinct and effortless. They were just very seamless. And I too, I loved the audible breaths in there. And again, just like Susan and Anthony were saying, breaths are important because we're human. This is a story being told by a human. We should have breaths in there. Of course, we're going to have times where there's a big, long run-on sentence and we're taking a large breath. Those you can remove or sculpt if you so wish, but I tend to remove those and just keep the nice, natural, human breaths in there. I think she did a wonderful job with this.
She did. I really like the way she did the stepmother, because it wasn't like, it was this sort of subtle evil, like, oh, I'll tell you what we'll do. Yeah. I love that. The Casey, yes, I love that first line. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Yeah. Like just that evil, I sugary, sweet evilness.
I do want to also say to everybody, clearly, these are fairy tales and stories that are meant to be told in a character-heavy fashion. All right, something where we want to hear distinct characters. Part of us being successful as voice actors is being able to direct ourselves. It is a part of our reality these days. We don't have a lot of direction. Most of us are lucky if we get a couple sentences. And even those sentences of direction are usually wrong. I mean, they usually don't even know what they're really saying through their direction.
Conversational.
Okay? Right. Just be conversational. Right. So part of this and this story, right, and a lot of people we listen to, this is clearly going to be told in a different way than if you were doing a novel or a story that was written like right now in our day and age that's meant to be hyper realistic and taking place, in our time and not magical or thing, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be narrated differently. So you as a voice actor and your acting decisions need to be also based upon the story. If it's a farce, right? If it's a farce, then your characters are going to be even more over the top, right? But if it's like a perfect example, if you're doing a nonfiction and you're doing a biography, and in the biography, there are quotes from the person that are actually you're doing the biography from, and I've seen this. And let's say that person, let's say you're doing Humphrey Bogart, and you're doing a biography on. Well, I mean, his voice was very distinct and could be looked at as being funny. However, if you're talking about a part in the story that you're narrating that's supposed to be serious, you need to be aware that doing the funny voice just because you can, it's not the right time to do it. So understanding what is happening and what you should be doing, that is really important. And for you to make that acting decision, that's why they hire us. And if you don't know that yet, that's what working with people who can help you and you can learn can teach you. I want to move on to some of the other ones here because we got some. Let's go ahead and listen to. This is Brad's, okay, and Brad starting. He did not win. He was a runner-up for one of the auditions, but he said it was okay for us to go. I don't know if he's here, but it was okay for us to go over his and listen to it. And I want to listen to this. This was I'm trying to remember if this. Let's see which one it was.
Brad Storm. Hansel and Gretel.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's Hansel and Gretel. So let's listen to his Hansel and Gretel, okay?
Hard by a great forest dwelt a poor woodcutter with his wife and his 2 children.
Okay, for start, I hate to stop it right off that, but you could tell right away I was raising the volume, right? Because it was too low, and I don't think it was up to, it should be up to -3. It should be a lot higher. I didn't check the RMS, but anyways, I'm sorry. Let me keep going. I don't want to stop.
The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had little to bite and to break. And once when great dearth fell on the land, he could no longer procure even daily bread. Now when he thought over this by night in his bed and tossed about in his anxiety, he groaned and said to his wife, "What is to become of us? How are we to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything even for ourselves?" "I'll tell you what, husband," answered the woman. "Early tomorrow morning, we will take the children out into the forest to where it is the thickest. There will be a light of fire for them, and give each of them one more piece of bread. And then we will go to our work and leave them alone. They will not find the way home again, and we shall be rid of them." "No, wife," said the man, "I will not do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone in the forest? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces." "Oh, you fool," said she. "Then we must all 4 die of hunger. You may as well plane the planks for our coffins." And she left him no peace until he consented. "But I feel very sorry for the poor children, all the same," said the man. The 2 children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmother had said to their father. Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, "Now all is over with us." "Be quiet, Gretel," said Hansel. "Do not distress yourself. I will soon find a way to help us." And when the old folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his little coat, opened the door below, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stooped and stuffed a little pocket of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel, "Be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace. God will not forsake us." And he lay down again in his bed. When day dawned, but before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the 2 children, saying, "Get up, you sluggards. We are going into the forest to fetch wood." She gave each a little piece of bread and said, "There is something for your dinner. but do not eat it up before then, for you will get nothing else. Gretel took the bread under her apron, as Hansel had the pebbles in his pocket.
All right. So, so first off, Brad did great. I mean, it really was a good audition. I really did enjoy it, and it was a lot of fun. And let's kind of talk about some things that I really liked about Brad's is that he did make a good effort to do distinct characters. All right. I heard a difference, a very audible difference between the father and the mother, the kids. So, I mean, he did a very good job with that. He slated everything, was slated correctly. There was, you'll notice, I mean, there was a pause here. I would have liked a longer pause. You know what I mean? I think, double this pause would have been great just from a technical standpoint. But that there was, he has throughout this, there's some breaths in here and some are not. So, I mean, overall, it was a very good audition for me. And then I'll let the others speak, is that I think if you look at this one and you listen to Casey's, one of the challenges that I had a lot, and I think most of us have too, is really understanding pacing and understanding how, the difference between kinetic energy and psychological energy. All right. So in kinetic energy, that's a very physical type of feeling of energy, right? It's very strong and powerful. An announcer style has a lot of kinetic energy. Psychological energy, on the other hand, is the ability that we have to create tension through pauses, through subtlety. Brad has an amazing kinetic energy about him. It makes me want to smile every time I listen to him because it's so much fun. All right. In this particular piece, especially when you're just starting, you've got to think of a story's beginning, a middle, and an end. We have to make sure that we start a story, we tell a story through the middle to the end with the right energies throughout. And I think for me on this one in Brad, it was just he like that constant kinetic energy that he has, which again makes me smile. It really does. It was too much for me, especially in the beginning of the story. So I want to pass it on to Susan or Angela, whichever one.
So kind of going back to what I said about Casey and how she chose her acting choice for the stepmother's voice, and the stepmother is hatching this plan to kill these children. She is not a nice person. And how, you could have made an acting choice to make this woman be just over the top evil. But Casey really pared it down and made that energy tight and very focused, that kind of like, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to take them out. It's going to be okay. Just that syrupy, sweet evilness.
There was a conniving piece to it.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she showed that. And so it is part, as actors, we have to do a lot of different things. We have so many hats that we're wearing. We've got to analyze the script, number one, and decide what's the intention behind the actors? It's kind of like, what's my motivation? Well, okay, the evil stepmother, her motivation is to kill these kids, but she wants to do it in a way that's not so horrifying to the husband, where he can be okay with it. And so I think Casey's acting choices were really, really good. And were just spot on and really were so engaging and really helped me just want to hear more and more and more and more. Brad made some great acting choices too, but I think the energy really could have been kind of tighter and really brought in with the mother, and with kind of like some of the pausing, really sort of giving it a little bit more pause. But I mean, overall, Brad, he was at the top. It
did a good job.
Yeah, it was really good audition.
Oh, no, it did flow. It did flow well. It did flow well.
Mm-hmm.
Angela, what do you think?
I think for me, I think he did a great job. I think the overall pacing with all of that kinetic energy, as you said, made the pacing a little bit overall too fast, I think, for me.
Right.
It was hard to really kind of get locked in to the story. I think he did a great job with the characters, but as what you had noted when we first started is that it was very quiet. I don't know if he exactly adhered to ACX standards for this because it was very quiet. I think it came out to be like about -9 was the peak on this, so it was very quiet. But I think he did a great job, but I think overall, all of that energy made the pacing a little bit too fast. I think some extra pauses just for impact, I think would have made a lot of difference too. But I think he did a great job. I love Brad's voice. He has, like you said, it just makes you smile. He just has one of those voices.
Yeah.
And I
absolutely.
really like the way he slated his name too, Brad Storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I mean, it really like clicked me in. I was like, oh, who's
Yeah.
this guy? I mean, I know Brad, but I really like, I like that, you know?
So, and not picking on Brad at all, but clearly this would not have passed ACX standards. Okay, just because it's too quiet, as we could tell, which was why I was just raising the volume because it was too quiet when I was listening to it. You know, I think the more we all do this too, you start to get a feel of it the more you do. But yeah, so but again, I was great job on both, both of them, and everybody else really did well on this one. But hopefully that was helpful. It was really nice to listen to those. I do want to listen to a couple more, one or two more, because I think it's, we had those two, but we have some really other ones that are really awesome too. So we're gonna listen to Erica Holden next, who is here. Erica, it's good to have you here. Thank you. So this is Erica and Tom. Is that right? Oh, wait, no, Erica didn't win. Erica's doing
The fisherman and the fisherman.
Yeah, whoops, did the wrong. Okay, so we'll do the let's do the person who actually did win Tom Thun. Sorry, Erica, we'll get yours in a minute. Okay, so here's I think this was Vincent Caruso. Hey Vincent, thank you so much for being here. Let's take a listen to Vincent's.
Vincent Caruso, Tom Thumb. A poor woodman sat in his cottage one night, smoking his pipe by the fireside while his wife sat by his side spinning. "How lonely it is, wife," said he, as he puffed out a long curl of smoke, "for you and me to sit here by ourselves, without any children to play about and amuse us, while other people seem so happy and merry with their children." "What you say is very true," said the wife, sighing and turning round her wheel. "How happy should I be if I had but one child? If it were ever so small, nay, if it were no bigger than my thumb, I should be very happy and love it dearly." Now, odd as you may think it, it came to pass that this good woman's wish was fulfilled, just in the very way she had wished it. For not long afterwards, she had a little boy, who was quite healthy and strong, but was not much bigger than my thumb. So they said, "Well, we cannot say we have not got what we wished for, and little as he is, we will love him dearly." And they called him Thomas Thumb. They gave him plenty of food, yet for all they could do, he never grew bigger, but kept just the same size as he had been when he was born. Still, his eyes were sharp and sparkling, and he soon showed himself to be a clever little fellow who always knew well what he was about. One day, as the woodman was getting ready to go into the wood to cut fuel, he said, "I wish I had someone to bring the cart after me, for I want to make haste." "Oh, father," cried Tom, "I will take care of that. The cart shall be in the wood by the time you want it." Then the woodman laughed and said, "How can that be? You cannot reach up to the horse's girdle." "Never mind that, father," said Tom. "If my mother will only harness the horse, I will get into his ear and tell him which way to go." "Well," said the father, "we will try for once."
I
All
love
right.
that.
Yeah,
I love
thank you.
that.
Thank you so much, Vincent. And so the starters. Okay, so I think a lot of times in any book that we do, we often forget the narrator's character is a character. One thing I really love about Vincent is that his narrator, the character of his narrator, is just something I feel I could listen to. I love the sound of it. Right? There's more, the narrator interests me. It's intriguing. It's not like if I just go to read something and I'm reading to get to the characters. Okay. We all have to remember that your narrator is probably the largest character in the whole book. So you need to put as much effort or more effort into the narrator itself, whether it's first person, third person, whatever, as you do the characters. And if you notice the pacing in this one, you know what I mean? It was, there was, I don't know if it's an American thing or something that we do, but we all talk really fast. I do. My goodness, I do. I talk really fast. But I think, it's okay to slow down and pause. And it works very well in this one, specifically Tom Thumb too, because it's a very, to me, I think it's the words are nice to listen to. I mean, just the way it was formed. So I thought you did really good on that, Vincent. I would say that, in this case, I think, we probably could have cleaned up some of the audio a little bit more. But, again, I really liked the volume was good on this one. I really enjoyed the acting and the overall story. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the narration. I mean, the way Vincent it just felt so intimate. Like he was just right here talking in my ear, the whole time, with that narration, once upon a time, there was an old man or old woman, they just wanted a child. And it just hooked me in right away. I mean, Vincent really brought the story to life, and honestly, like Vincent, your voices, like the father and the son, Tom Thumb, like they really weren't that much different. It wasn't like, you did an English accent for the father and a whatever different accent for the child, but it was just enough where it was perfect. And it just felt like, I don't know, I felt like you were really connected to the story, and it connected me in as well.
Yeah, I loved the energy on this one too. It was just enough, and I think the pacing was really great too. Just like you were saying in the beginning, the only thing that I would say is the noise floor, but I mean, we all have noise floor issues, but other than that, I think that was great. I could listen to that for hours.
Right. And here's something else, everybody. This is something that we all really need to do, but a lot of us really don't like to do. And I feel myself fortunate because I get to listen to voice actors all day long, and I get to hear so much of what other people are doing, and it helps me analyze what I do. Okay, what I like, what sounds good to me, what doesn't sound good to me, right? And then it helps me determine what am I doing. So if you trying to get better, you need to listen to a lot of other people and what they're doing. Okay, the good and the bad, right? What you like and what you don't like. If you can't do more than we are, I always say we are the sum of all of our experiences, and we can go how we go beyond. All right, is first we have to have a basis to stand on in order to grow. Without that basis to stand on, you can't grow. So until you have a basis of knowledge, I love some the people sometimes who say, I want to, I'm doing audiobooks, and I'm like, cool. So, how many audiobooks do you listen to? I don't listen to audiobooks. All right. And that's okay. Maybe that's not your thing, but if you're going to be an audiobook narrator, you should probably try to listen to some audiobooks. And here's a little tip, which I'm sure you guys know. Audible, you can go and listen to every single book for free for the first 5 minutes. You can listen to how people are narrating for free. It's an amazing tool for us. And you can listen to different genres, right? You can go to different genres and listen to how people narrate different genres. and what is popular and what's not. You know, so I wanted to point that out, because we're listening to people's here and we get a chance to do this, but you know, sometimes you might be sitting there and be like, I don't have anybody to listen to, you know. But if you actually stop and think, you can go any site that we're all on, any website, Audible, all these different places, they have actors, all of our voice demos are everywhere. Okay, so
YouTube as well. Just, I also wanted to note really quick that as a narrator, you have to consider your audience too. Who is listening to this book? What is the purpose of this book? And in this instance, it's fairy tales. It's all casual listening. It's for entertainment. So I think his approach to it was just perfect for that, for just the casual entertainment factor.
absolutely. And I did want to just bring this back really quick to again point out some of the, you know, we've been talking about the acting quality, but there's a storytelling quality that I want to kind of you know, finish up, and we can go listen to some other things. But the idea is that we are storytellers. The better we tell a story, the more successful we will be. In order for you to be able to tell a successful story, in my mind, you need to study how stories are told, how they're written, how they go from beginning, middle, and an end, that old plot diagram, right? I mean, how we start, how it builds. You as a voice actor need to be aware of that. Now, I want to point out something. When you're first starting, everybody, it's going to take you 10 times longer, right? When we talk about analyzing a script, Susan said that. Yes. And if your question is, well, should it be taking me like a couple of hours to analyze something? Yes. When you first start, you're not doing anything wrong. It does take a long time because it's all new. As you grow and do a lot more, things will become more second nature to you. You will create habits that will allow you to move faster. Okay, it will be more intuitive to you, but it becomes intuitive because you've spent hours and hours and hours analyzing. All right, I hope that makes sense. I just think of myself, questions that I always ask, you know, how long am I supposed to analyze a script? You say, look at the first page. Well, there's, you know, 500 pages. How am I supposed to look at each page? It's a really long time. It takes time. Okay. And then there is the idea of, well, you got to make a living. So how much time can I actually spend? All right. And this is where you as a business owner, we can go down. I usually teach in the academy marketing and a variety of different things, but also making sure that you've got revenue coming into your business. Part of all of this too is that you are practicing through doing enough as well. Even auditions. That's why auditions in this case are so beneficial, because they give you 1 minute to 2 minutes of practice each time. So anyways, I just wanted to, you know, point out again that, you know, our job is to bring the story to life. Right. And, you know, I think I put down here as the last thing, subtext, right? The story underneath the story. It's not just what you say, it is how you say it. And if you are focusing solely on, most of the time, do I sound okay? Can they understand my words? Oh, crap, I got to sound interesting. I'm going to go up and I'm going to go down. I used to do that all the time. Okay. And I can tell you that's an indication that you're focusing on the wrong thing. If you're only focusing on how you sound while you narrate and to make sure you don't mess up a word, okay, which we all have gone through, that's not the right focus. The focus should be on the message that you're trying to relay in that moment in time. All right. The story that you're trying to tell, the subtext of the story. Okay. That will actually set you free, because interestingly enough, if you force yourself to focus on these things while you're narrating, your narration will take care of itself. All right. But if you don't, what'll happen is whatever you focus on will manifest itself 10 times over. So if you're focusing on, you know, do I sound okay? I got to make sure I don't mess up the words. Am I pacing okay? Then that's all we're going to be hearing too is, your words sound okay, you're pacing, because it will just be devoid of your story, you telling it. It'll be just kind of a person reading words off of a page. All
So
right.
in other words, if you bring the story to life, if you're really channeling in on the text of the story, if you've done your kind of your homework, the rest kind of just takes care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Angela, what about my big speech, as I always give it? What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think not focusing on how you sound is a very hard habit to break.
Yes.
But once, like you said, you realize that everything just sort of falls into place if you just focus on the purpose and the story and who you're trying to be and to carry the story along, like you said, the beginning, middle, and end. All of that stuff goes away, and it is very liberating once you realize that you're doing it, and then you just say, okay, this is just reshift your focus. I think that in itself is super liberating, and it just makes narrating so much easier. But it's a hard habit to break, and we all do it.
And I felt awkward forever. If you feel like me now, you're not weird. I used to feel like every time I narrated a book, it was awkward. It didn't feel right. It felt like I was trying to create a new character again of a narrator, and I was narrating nonfiction. So every time I narrated, I was like, gosh, so after about 1.5 to 2 years, I got so fed up of feeling uncomfortable while I narrated that I finally internally said, screw it. I just want to feel okay when I talk into a microphone. All right. And when I let that go, interestingly enough, when you start to do that thing, well, I don't really give a crap in your mind, whatever mentally that you got to do, right? That changes things. Do you know what I mean? That really changes things. And I think, so if you feel that way, you're not weird, you're not different or not normal. That is a part of the process that we have to go through. Whatever you do, though, don't stop. Keep pushing yourself, keep searching, and attending things like this, which I do want to spend a brief moment, because we're coming to the end, to show you, all right, what we have, all right, that because part of this, and that is a VO's Journey Elite Academy, all right, which we go over all of this stuff 6 times a week. You don't have to attend all 6 times. We have an academy, but basically you can go to our website, VO's Journey, sign up for the Elite Academy. Here we're offering 50% off this first month. But I do want to share with you really quick why I brought you here. And that is because there is a lot that we have that you can actually use when it comes to resources and teachers. So basically you get here, you have your library, the membership lounge, and I wanted to show you this. We also have all the archives. So a lot of people are always like, man, I can't make sessions, I can't do stuff. Well, we have 6 different coaches. We've got Susan. By the way, all our sessions are archived, so you can go back and watch it. We've got Susan, who is on Mondays. We've got Kat, who is also our voice acting coach, and she's on Tuesdays. She's in the UK at 2 p.m. We also have Don Barnes, who does our tech stuff, who's really amazing and does so much, especially with audiobooks, but all tech, all over the industry. He's worked with people like Scott Brick and everybody to help them. Don is really amazing. I'm on Wednesdays. Of course, that's me and my spiel. We've got Angela Clark, who's on Thursdays. We've got an Angela Ohlfest, who's here today. She's on Fridays. And, we've got an amazing community and all sorts of stuff. I just wanted to show you, you can go there. We'll post a link in the chat. But yeah, I don't know if ladies, you wanted to say anything else about the Academy, or anybody here, how much it's helped you. But this has been something, and by the way, we're the only place that actually has live instruction like we do today. We do this every single day of the week, like where you get live instruction with us. Susan or Angela, or do you want to just say anything real briefly? Then we'll go back and listen to another one if people want to stick around.
There's also like in here, I show this a lot in my class, but like if you'll just go back one, Anthony, and just the reference files right there in the middle. The reference files are like amazing. I mean, seriously, like if you join the Academy and all you do is just go to the reference files and use those, these are gold. And it's not just marketing, but it's like voiceover tones, phonetics, warm-ups, just all the stuff that you're supposed to be doing anyway that you don't think of doing because this is a brand new thing and there's just so much else going on. So there's just so much in here that's
a lot.
available.
What do you, Angela?
One of the questions that I hear a lot is, where do I start? And I always tell people there's nothing else like the Academy right now. There just isn't. And it's a one-stop shop. Like Susan was saying, there's all of these resources, all of these different coaches that give this live interaction every week. It's a phenomenal deal if you're just starting out. It covers all of your bases.
Yeah, I hate that sounded so salesy. It did. Like
It
I was
did.
trying to sell you guys on it, and I apologize because that's actually not why I did the workshop. But at the same time, I would be remiss to tell you that you have to. Like I've been training in this my whole life. Part of what we do, everybody, whether you get it from the Academy or you go to some other coach, I implore you to work with people. Work with coaches, work with people that can help you to get better. All right.
I mean, I go to the classes. I mean, Don and Donnie on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. No, whatever they have it. They do the audio engineering. I mean, that is my weakest link. And
That's huge in itself.
It is. And just to have those two, just to say like, okay, here's what RMS actually means. And here's what EQ means, because I'm like, I don't know. I just want to hit a button and have it work. And at this point, that's what I can do thanks to them. So, I mean, this is not just for like beginners. This is for like,
yes,
keeping you going in your career, because there's stuff that you every day you find out like, I don't know what that means.
We didn't mention too, like we have, because we started the new audiobook production company right now, it is completely just for people in the Academy. Mm-hmm. All right. So part of that production, so the people in the Academy get exclusive right to, audition for the Production Academy. And then we have monthly audition challenges, and we've got a lot of other fun stuff where you win prizes and things. I did put the link into the guy. You should do an NPR fundraising. Thank you, Vanessa. I did put a link in the chat if you guys want to check that out. Thank you so much for bearing with me on that. That was probably one of the most salesy thing I've ever done in my life, but trying new things, people, trying new things.
Maggie said the Academy has been a game changer for her.
Yay. I really appreciate it. I mean, I get, it is nice. I think we all, like, for me, it is so special to see so many people succeeding that are a part of it, and people on their journeys, because we get to see people's journeys and help them. And a lot of people, I mean, message us, we're very active all day long, every day. So it's kind of nice. I had someone who messaged me and said, it'd be really nice if you had a 24-hour tech hotline. I said, yes, that would be really cool. I don't have 24 hours, but we do our best to help as many hours as we're awake. So, but anyways, I did want to, because I think we're getting to a point where it's been over an hour. We have things that we can listen to, no doubt. And, but I want to take questions. I do want to take some questions because we haven't really taken any questions. So questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Can be, about anything. But, we're talking about audiobooks and things like that. But if you have any questions, go ahead, and now's the time to ask. So I think it's a good thing. What we do is very interactive as well. I mean, the point is that we're interacting with you live so that we don't have to be stuck in our booth by ourselves, which is the majority of our day. If you don't, you can raise your hand. Craig, I saw you. I'm going to get to you in a second. You can go down to reactions on the bottom of your tab in Zoom, and you can actually if you click on that, they give you a couple things. If you raise your hand that way, then I'll see that you're looking. So, all right, let's see. That was the wrong hand, Craig, but I saw you raise your hand first. But go ahead, Craig. You start us off, and then we'll get over to Gary. That's all right. Go ahead, Craig. Oh, you got to unmute yourself. Oh, you got to unmute. I think we can't hear you.
There we go.
There you go. Hey.
I was of the impression that you controlled that, but that's fine. What I was just going to ask, what does the program cost? I was looking all over the screen to see, and sign me up.
That's my part, isn't it? Yeah, it's $33 for the first month, and then every month after that, it's $78.
Okay, that sounds like it'll work. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Gary.
Yeah, hi. I appreciate the discussion about the narrator being a character in the audiobook. I also have heard that you need to be careful when being the narrator, because the narrator shouldn't necessarily be interpreting what the author is trying to say, but yet just trying to deliver what the message the author wants to say. So I think there may be a fine line between the two of those, or does that go mainly for nonfiction more than fiction?
Gary, I love this question, and please, coaches too, make sure you chime in when you ask them. But this is where, and we talked a little bit about it, but Gary, this is where you have to make acting decisions. All right, you've got to take whatever direction that's given to you, and then you make a determination about your acting direction. And I often find that the people who are willing to take a chance and make an acting decision that pushes, makes it unique, are the people that I pay attention to, right? Because I think the people that but when it comes to a specific thing, I always say too, you can message the rights holder or the author or whoever, and if they don't get back to you, well, then that gives you an answer really about how much they, because if you worked on ACX, anybody here, there's people who just never get back to you. That gives you an answer for how they feel about your acting. They don't really care. Okay, which is sad, but it is true. But the people who do care, remember, you need to make an acting decision because you are the director and the actor. Don't make a mistake. Those are two different parts. So you have to make a direction, a director's choice to say, okay, I'm gonna treat this book like, I'm scared half to death. You're doing a horror book. And I love that story Scott Brick told, where he was doing a scary book, and he decided to go and watch, I don't know, It or something on a really turn off all the lights in his house. And then he went and narrated after he watched the movie with all the lights out, so he sounded like he was just scary, scared, like you make that acting decision. Okay. So hopefully that helps, Gary. And I do think that, in the end, that's why this also becomes a numbers game. Give it a shot and go for it. Thank you for the question, buddy. Is it Bria? Was I right? Or is it Bree? How's it?
Yes, it's Bria. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Bria.
It's so good to see everyone's faces in the group since I'm so used to talking to you all virtually.
Absolutely.
But my question is actually for Angela Ohlfest, because
Mm-hmm.
I know she has experience in children's audiobooks. So hi, Angela.
Hello.
Hi. So my question is, I'm in my first year of doing commercial voice acting, and I have a coach, but I was telling people in the group about like a month ago that I really wanted to get into the niche of children's audiobooks, and I work in a library. So basically we have a section in our library that's called read-alongs or read-alouds. And, it's basically when you open the book, you press play and someone reads it for you. And I was listening to it and I was like, I can do this. It's so easy. I love children's books and so forth. So I guess my question to you is, where would someone start for that? Because my coach made it sound kind of easy. She was like, Bria, your voice is already amazing. She's like, basically all you need to do is just make a sample. She's like, find a fiction, then make a fiction sample, make a nonfiction sample, send it to the publishers. I already have a whole list of you to send out to the publishers, send it out to them, and that's pretty much it. And I was like, is it that easy? Like just to start off?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could reach out to publishers and be put on their roster, but whether or not they choose you is a whole different thing.
Right.
Same thing goes with ACX and some of the other places. It's really dependent upon what the rights holder is looking for in terms of voice. So they could have a specific sound or pace or tone in their head that's appropriate for the book that they're writing. And if it's sort of being in the right place at the right time, but you have to reaching out and to publishers and being asked to be put on their rosters, I think is great. Having samples of many different genres or tones, or, you know, all the different samples of different types of audiobooks, I think is also a good thing to do. I don't want to say that it's easy, but it can be done with a lot of persistence, a lot of, you know, a variety of samples, but I think it can be done. I think that's a good strategy.
Okay, great. Because basically I'll get around to it as fast as I can, but basically my plan was just to make a nonfiction sample that had young adult and children, and then make a nonfiction sample that had young adult and children, since that's the voice I have, and then just send it out to publishers and go from there. So
Yeah, and if it's specifically children's books too, I would have something that was very children's books, you know, something appropriate for that age group, whichever age group that you're looking for.
right, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work in a library, so that I have like a whole variety of books to look at. So okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Bria.
Yes, ma'am.
Charles.
Hello, Anthony.
Hey, buddy.
Long time. I got the time of this thing completely mixed up. So if this was answered already, I apologize. But with first person narration, what's the easiest or best way to differentiate between when the character has dialogue and when they're telling the story?
Good call. So, you know, I'll leave it open for everybody else too, but this is where I find mic proximity to be very helpful in a lot of ways as well. So, for example, when you are doing internal monologue, right? You make an early decision whether that's going to be closer to the microphone or not. I find that when I'm doing internal stuff, I get closer to the microphone. It gives the listener a way to maybe think, okay, this is inside their head, as opposed to it's not being inside their head, right? So that's a great way to do it as well. When it comes to dialogue, you know, that's the same a general challenge, but I think your pacing is really important. I wouldn't change the proximity of the mic in my dialogue, but depending on the book, like we were talking about earlier, we went over auditions. Depending on the book and the type of book it is, your characters, the difference in their voices, their pacing, the way they speech, you know, that change, that will allow people to understand that you're doing dialogue. All right, and we'll make it different. But again, the key here is, and this is, we didn't touch on this, but we talked about it some, you know, it's men doing women's voices and women doing men's voices. That's always a challenge for a lot of people, because the thing we want to do, all of us, is either lower a pitch in our voice or raise the pitch in our voice, right? And that's a big thing. And whereas we're tempted to do that, fight that temptation. You don't have to do that all the time, because remember, we are telling a story. We're not supposed to be telling the listener to feel about the characters the way we feel about them ourselves. Okay, so what I mean by that is that you're making an acting decision about how that character acts, behaves, but it's up to the listener to come up with how they feel about that. So that means if you have a female character, maybe her voice is deeper than a male's voice. Okay, you know, maybe maybe her voice is down here, you know, and that would give me it's still is a woman, a female, but it can be, that gives me then how I feel about that character, right? You're offering us characteristics that we can then make our own decisions about. So I say that when you're trying to differentiate dialogue, look more for vocal characteristics as opposed to pitch variations. that will help you create so many more characters. Like, do they have a raspy voice? Do they talk with the front of their, do they talk with their nose? Like, do they, where you position? So that that's a whole nother, those are classes. That's things that we teach, right? It's how to add those different characters and those voices. So hopefully that helped out, Charles. Thank you for that question. Crystal, I hope I answered it. Crystal.
I'm aware of the importance of a demo. Do you need to have a demo if you're approaching ACX?
Sure. Let me, Susan.
So for ACX, for a demo,
Yes.
so asking, so I would say no for a demo. ACX, what you'll want to do is just put specific samples up. So, so like Crystal, for example, I know you're like super meditation, affirmations, things like that. You could have one sample that is positive affirmations. And then it could be, a minute long. And then another sample that shows self-help, I don't know, how to stop doing something, how to stop biting your nails. Another maybe like a book, which kind of falls in the same vein of like how to, a nonfiction book on overcoming an addiction. And so what you want for ACX specifically are very specific samples. And rather than like a demo with a whole bunch of different samples.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you can go, like, if you want to, just go to ACX and you can look me up and kind of see how I do it. Or like, a lot of people, just see how those are done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
Crystal.
question.
Yeah. Joe.
Hi, it's actually Liz. I'm on my husband's Zoom account.
Hey, Liz.
Hi. So I am the classic newbie. I'm just starting out, and I'm kind of figuring out like what's the best route. I see you have the mentorship program or the Elite Academy. Like, which one is kind of the best route to take?
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, thank you for asking that question. So I created the mentorship academy, or the mentorship program. I changed it recently to include at a way better price that I used to charge, because gas is too darn expensive right now. So I know that we're all struggling. So I changed the pricing of that, and basically you get the academy and then you get to meet with me 4 times a month. So if you are new, I guess sell you on the mentorship program, but yes, I would definitely join that, because the whole point of that is for me to help you personally, take you where you are right now and grow your business. I've worked with a lot of people here, the coaches too, and each one of them were in different places, and we work together. Sometimes you need someone there to be a support for you, to help you as well. But yeah, I think the mentorship program is great, but the academy is amazing on its own with the community and everything. If you want to work with me to help you grow your business specifically with a more personalized approach, that would be what I would do. And seeing as the academy is $78, you're only paying like $100 more a month for 4 sessions with me, which is crazy, but I enjoy it.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. And please feel free to contact me, personally too, if you have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay, well, we're coming to the end here. Does Angela, Susan, or any other questions? But I know there were some questions over in the chat, but I didn't see. I wasn't able to, because I'm bad at looking over at the chat sometimes. But Susan, Angela, or any other questions? You guys want to say anything else?
People were asking about like, if you're in English, if you're over in England, like, yes, how does it kind of translate? Like if they're in the academy, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, we try to put some of the classes earlier in the day for starters. So we have Kat and Angela. So Kat is British. She's over in the UK, and she's a voice acting coach in the UK. And she's also part of the academy. Now it's for everybody, but she it works with a lot of British voice actors as well. So that's part of her. And then Angela's is at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 8 p.m. Kat's at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 7 p.m. I believe in the UK. So yeah, so we do have at least one coach that is actually a British voice acting coach as well. So yeah, so great question. What else we got? We got some other.
Yeah, Bruce asked if the Academy is only for audiobooks.
Good question. No, it's for everything. The Academy is, even though right now we're doing just audiobook auditions for this workshop, the Academy is for all voiceover. It's for you growing your voiceover business, no matter whether you're in audiobooks or not. Some of us, like, Angela, some of us specialize in audiobooks more than others. But, when I first started my voiceover business, I thought I would only ever be a nonfiction audiobook narrator. Right now, the majority of what I do is commercial work. Commercial work. Susan does a lot of e-learning work. Right, she does a lot of e-learning work.
And when I first started, my goal was to win an Audie Award. I thought like I was going to be the queen of audiobooks. And then I started getting e-learning work and was like, I really like this a lot better.
Yeah.
And Angela does, most of us do everything, not just one. We do all of it. So the Academy, it really is a little bit of all of it. Yep. Or a lot of all of it, actually. Good question. All right. Anything else? When submitting an audition to ACX and the rights holder submits a chapter, how long of a sample is sufficient to send? Good question. Okay, so whatever you do, they submit sometimes things that are 15 pages. They might even submit the whole book. Okay, I only ever do 1 to 2 minutes. That's what I recommend, unless they specifically ask for something else. Sometimes you'll have, the rights holder who just has to listen to you do the 3 different characters from 3 different chapters. And, they want you really to bring it home for them, on your audition. But for the most part, 1 to 2 minutes, that's all you need. That's all. If they can't figure out whether they want to work with you in 1 to 2 minutes, then move on. They don't, they're confused. Okay. That's how I always look at it. Good question. And you have to think about your time. I feel so bad, people, you don't want to, doing a 15-minute audition could take you, especially if you're first starting, a couple of hours. And that's just too much. You won't get, you won't, God forbid they don't even listen to it. So yeah, so I 1 to 2 minutes max. Bruce.
Sorry, I was muted there.
That's okay.
My question is, with the mentor program, how long are the sessions, the 4 per month?
So usually, because I taught, they usually end up being, they're between 30 minutes and an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Yep.
Could we maybe just take 2.5 minutes and listen to Erica's, the fisherman and his wife?
Yes, sorry. We had a couple other ones that we didn't listen. If everybody was interested in listening to them, absolutely.
And just, I kind of wanted to point out one thing about Erica's audition, and that is on the kind of flow chart that Anthony had about qualities that we're looking for in winning auditions. And one of them is taking chances and taking advantage of the script. And I think when you're going to hear Erica's, you're really going to hear oh my gosh, she really took some bold chances and made some crazy choices that just end up being so perfect and really took advantage of what was in the script. So
all right,
thank you for playing this.
Yeah. Okay.
Erica Holden, The Fisherman and His Wife. There once was a fisherman who lived with his wife in a pigsty close by the seaside. The fisherman used to go out all day long a-fishing, and one day as he sat on the shore with his rod, looking at the sparkling waves and watching his line, all on a sudden his float was dragged away deep into the water, and in drawing it up, he pulled out a great fish. But the fish said, "Pray let me live. I am not a real fish. I am an enchanted prince. Put me in the water again and let me go." "Oh, ho," said the man. You need not make so many words about the matter. I will have nothing to do with a fish that can talk. So swim away, sir, as soon as you please. Then he put him back into the water, and the fish darted straight down to the bottom and left a long streak of blood behind him on the wave. When the fisherman went home to his wife in the pigsty, he told her how he had caught a great fish, and how it had told him it was an enchanted prince, and how, on hearing it speak, he had let it go again. "Did you not ask it for anything?" said the wife. "We live very wretchedly here in this nasty, dirty pigsty. Oh, do go back and tell the fish we want a snug little cottage." The fisherman did not much like the business. However, he went to the seashore, and when he came back there, the water looked all yellow and green, and he stood at the water's edge and said, "O man of the sea, hearken to me. My wife, Ilsebil, will have her own will, and hath sent me to beg a boon of thee."
Awesome.
So good. So
every
good.
time she reads for us an audiobook class and she uses an accent like that, it just my jaw just drops. It's just like she switches so naturally and seamlessly between the accents. It just blows my mind every time. She's so good.
So good. And if you can't do an Irish accent and all, an English Cockney, whatever, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're cut out. The accents were beautiful, but I'm going to tell you what really hooked me on this one is just anybody answer this really fast. Where does the fisherman and his wife live? What kind of house? Anybody? Come on.
Pigsty.
They live in a pigsty, and that is such an important piece of the puzzle here, that they don't just live in a hut. They don't just live in a crappy little house. They live in a pigsty with pigs and pig poop and grossness. And nobody else really in the auditions brought out the fact that they live in such horrific conditions. We live in a pigsty, the way the wife said it was just so like, okay, this is really taking advantage of the script and really taking some bold choices with the story itself. So excellent job.
Yeah. I just, I've told her many times, I'm working with Erica as well too. She's a mentor student, but I'm not, she is, I'm not mentoring that incredible voice. She's incredible. It really is amazing. The pacing is spot on. It's just so nice to listen to. It really is. It really is so nice to listen to. And that's why it's so important for you to hear a lot of voiceovers. Thank you, Susan, for making me play it, because you want to listen to hear what people are doing. And acting is imitation. It's not, impersonation is a part of acting. That's a genre, but acting is imitation, meaning that we imitate emotion, sensitivity, right? We imitate cadences. We imitate real life, heightened life. Okay, that's dramas, heightened life. Acting is imitation, reacting, but that imitation. So when you hear something that you like or you enjoy, it's good to use it and work on how can you be that, that way in your mind. So anyways, but going back to Erica, I love the characters. The characters make, and here's another thing too, because I don't know, I always ask why did we start with short stories from Grimm's fairy tales and not, other books, where they're more recent. And I think for me, this is such a really great educational opportunity. Not only are, is the voice actors going to get themselves out there, but it's also a great way because there's something about these stories, I feel, that allows you to push yourself beyond what you're normally used to doing. And, that's how we grow. I really always love, stories for children, because, so many people think it's a children's story, But in reality, the people who can really narrate children's story are fantastic. It's not easy. And the wonderful thing about children is they'll tell you if they don't like you. They'll tell you if you stink. No, I used to do children's theater as well. And they'll come up to you and be like, you were great, or I didn't like you, it's wonderful. It's honesty and it's real. So I think that's what's fun for me about this. And, it's all based on what we do. So great job, Erica. That was really, I loved it. I love those characters. Can't wait to hear the rest of it. Awesome, you guys. Well, any other questions or comments for us? No? Thank you guys so much for being a part of our workshop today. I'll post one more time in the chat the link to Aviva's Journey Elite Academy. We'd love to have you, but also just go out there and keep auditioning, and we'll be doing more of these workshops. I think this turned out really great. Thank you guys so much for giving us time on your Saturday. We appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Be safe.
Thanks for doing this.
See you later. Absolutely. Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.